there we go. Now we're live. Hit the
Well,
button
hey.
correctly. Well, hey. Um, we were just hanging out, and then I was like, oh, we gotta go. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the very first episode of Worldbuilders Studio. Very excited about this. Don't make that face.
Why? It's my best face. Come on.
This will be fun. We are just hanging out. This is a no stress stream. We aren't streaming any games. We're not, doing panels or anything. This is just me and a guest. Ta-da! Talking about writing and world building and campaign things and stuff that we want to see in our tabletop games and other stuff. And James and I are both writers and readers and lovers of fiction and all that fun stuff. So who knows where this will go. So I'm Halli. I'm the DM for the Terrible Party. I almost said Small Terrible in a Dragonborn party because that is burned
You never
into
go from
my
brand back, you know.
brain. I know. We went from STD to TP. No, it's never good.
I never noticed for TP until now. That is still genius.
They were trying to come up with something for K for TPK.
Makes sense.
I don't know anymore. So our group's been together for almost 3 years. Oh, that's scary. And then a couple of years ago, I had the pleasure of meeting James here. Through a member of our D&D group that we have, and he started playing D&D with me, and now you're gonna run a campaign.
Surprise! Yeah.
No, it's not that bad.
I'm enjoying every second of a process. I'm just too English. I can't let it show on my face.
See, now I don't feel bad for giving Chris shit about being too English. It's like... I was like, oh, am I falling into a stereotype? Never mind. Why don't you, James, introduce yourself, and everyone, you can see that his handle is below the screen on the frame, or the frame on the screen. Oh boy. So that you can check out James's stuff. But why don't you talk about what you do?
Hey, I'm James. I do things. No, I'm a writer from England, as already discussed. I've got that intro burned into my brain as well from all the charity interest. Hi, I'm James. I'm a writer from England. Done. Move on. But no, I write fantasy and science fiction and generally all the stuff a young nerd starts to write and then never gets anywhere, and then suddenly mine got somewhere. I finished my first story in like 2012, 2015. It was the first book I'd ever written. It's Electus, if you go on the Amazon page. And I finished it then and left it for like 3 years. One of my mates said, oh, James, did you know you could self-publish Kindle books? And I, with all the hubris of a white man, turned around and went, I can! I'm worthy! And went for it. So I managed to get it edited with my friend Sarah and self-published it in 2017, I think. So, God, 3 years ago. Yeah, that's scary. And then worked from there. I have 5 books in the series now. It started as 2 separate series, then I realised I wasn't being ambitious enough, so I crossed them over for the last book. It was magical, it was wonderful, and I'm now rewriting them all because, as I said, the first book I wrote in 2012, and I am a different person emotionally, morally, and mentally, as well as skill-wise as a writer as well. So when I read the first book, I wince both because of some of the choices I made plot and phrasing-wise, and some of the choices I made just, why did I use that word? That doesn't make sense kind of thing. So I'm trying to rewrite it all into one big block book you can buy that I can be happy with. Then I can move on. But until those 5 books are kind of, I'm happy and proud of them, I'm not ready to move on yet.
Yeah, you should be proud of them. That's awesome.
I'm proud of the fact I have published books, and I'm very proud of the later books. But the first book is a very mixed one for me in terms of
All right, we're gonna try this again. I don't know what happened. Twitch had a moment. Was having a moment. That looks better. That's what it's supposed to look like.
our beautiful mugs on there.
That's all right. I'll piece the videos together. It'll be fine. Sorry about that, everyone. I don't know what happened. So we were just talking about writing and how James organizes. It's a system. It's a pretty great system. Holy crap! Did you just come up with that on your own, or was it something that developed?
It's when I developed it while writing the stories initially, because I got to the point where, as I say, first book wrote in 2012, 2013. Actually, self-published it 2017. So that was a 5-year gap where I hadn't touched that universe. So when it came to writing the sequel for it, I knew the characters, but it was like, okay, how do these two know each other? How friendly would they be? How familiar would they be? So it was a case of going back, reading, making notes, then being like, okay, as every time I wrote a chapter, I updated the tables and the spreadsheets and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So that way, no matter where I was or what I was doing, I could instantly go, okay, next chapter. I'm thinking of taking it in this direction. Oh, those two have met. Have they ever met before? Spreadsheet. Oh, yes, they have. There we are. Sorted. Which is, people tend to... I'm a very organised person, quite clearly. But people tend to assume I have a very good memory because of it. It's not. It's just because I have like 8 reference documents at any given time about anything.
So you are not a... You're not a pantser, then?
Ooh, sacrilege.
It doesn't sound like it.
I get frustrated if I'm anything less than 10 minutes early to an event without some form of idea of what we're doing during the event and when it's going to end and how I'm going to get home when it ends. I will go out on a night out with the alarms for the last 3 buses programmed into my phone ready, so that when it starts buzzing and I'm in the middle of a nightclub somewhere dancing my ass off, it's like, okay, yeah, so this is... I've got 20 minutes to make to the bus stop for the third to last bus home. I can probably give myself half an hour and then start heading to the bus stop. Yeah, that works. Let's go.
That sounds like my brain right there. For everything but creativity.
Really?
I don't know why. I might make a a handful of notes like we were talking about earlier. If something strikes me, you get hit by random inspiration while you're driving, doing whatever, cooking, cleaning, it doesn't matter. Shower thoughts, all of that stuff. Constantly, yeah.
Most creative place for shower. I sound excellent while singing, and my brain comes up with good ideas. The shower is a perfect place for all form of art.
It's true. While you turn into a prune, it's fantastic. But there is something about, and I think running tabletop role-playing games has changed how I plot, so to speak.
Yeah.
Because we were talking about earlier when the stream just didn't work. Sorry, y'all. I'll have the recording later. When we were talking about how you just can't predict what a group of people who are playing roles are going to do.
Yeah.
I know some people script. That's great. Some groups like that. Some groups like their games to be on rails. My players are too weird and too creative, and most of the stuff they come up with is leagues beyond anything that I could have written down.
Yeah. The example I always think of is when we ran the game where me and Kelly had the standoff in the field. There is no way the 3 of us could have scripted that between us.
Right.
but it came across so organically that, and it was such a brilliant moment that I was getting goosebumps while playing. And
Yep.
I mean, coming to the actual overarching plot when writing, I'm maybe not as formatted. I do tend to go with, I let the, it sounds so cliche and cheesy, but I let the story write itself,
Mm-hmm.
which is very much an organic process. If I'm not feeling any particular motivation, I don't write. I'm not going to force anything out there because it's the worst kind of content you can force.
Right.
And when it comes to me, it will come to me. And I've been very lucky in world building for the Kids on Bikes game because it's all just come to me. I will kind of sit there and I'm just like, oh, what if I have a character that does this? Okay, where would they fit? I'll put them a shop there. Done. Sorted. Brilliant. Or I'll be chatting to one of the players like, okay, so I have had a set of... So for a brief overview of the game, it's set inside a secluded community in the middle of a forest in England, where people with no place to go will sometimes receive a mysterious invite to go live there.
Okay.
No return address, but it has a school, it's got a retail district, everything you could ever want out of life is all situated in this commune in the middle of the forest. And the main questions I asked for players have been, because they're all students, it's been, what's your favourite lesson?
Mm-hmm.
What's your least favourite lesson? Where do you hang out after school? And how did you end up in Heaven's Gate, is the name of the place.
You did not name it Heaven's Gate!
Oh, I named it Heaven's Gate. I am not subtle.
Oh my god! Everyone who doesn't know what that is, go look that up. There was a cult with that actual name. It ain't pretty. That's amazing! Oh no, I love it.
But from those 4 questions, I've been able to have many, oh my god, that's brilliant moments with any players that I've spoke to so far, because it's been a case of, okay, well, what do you think about this? I let them create a lot of the NPCs. So they'll go, okay, I've got a best friend. It's like, okay, describe him to me. Or, oh, I like going to this shop. Okay, well, what do they sell? What do they do? What's your relationship with that person? Because I am very much a believer of tabletop games being not so much a, we go here, we kill this, we leave, we get XP. When I started, I was very much a numbers person. It was I'm here for the number crunching and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Then, as we've moved on, it's been more about, let's sit around a table and tell a story. This is going to be friggin' hilarious. And going from there. So I think the more input a player can have in the building process, the more natural it becomes. There is still so much they don't know. And so much I have to bite my tongue in this because I want to tell you everything and I can't.
No, you can't, because Sig is here.
One of them is watching. Yeah. And it's the interplay. I'm so excited for the interplay between the players when we actually start as well, because we have such unique characters in this world that it's going to be a fireworks show. But how do you find that? You were saying you originally ran for strangers. I picked several people I know very well that I played games with that in my case, the way I pitched to them was, I trust you to have my back when I fail narratively. Because I'm nervous, I'm terrified of doing all of this, so I want people that can pick up the story and keep it flowing when I struggle. So how did you find it with with people you didn't know? As you say, you couldn't predict them. How did you deal with that?
Not well in the beginning, because it was very scripted, but I also found that to be a tool for everyone to get to know each other a little bit, get to know play styles. I also got stupid lucky with that group, and you know those folks. Like, I got really, really lucky with my initial group because I shouldn't have had such an easy time, but people were forgiving because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I have never done this before. Hi, peoples. And Sorry about the failed stream earlier. I'll fix it later. This is new using overlays, so
We look fancy. It's awesome.
we do look fancy. I like it. I know it's not cropped quite perfectly, but it's all right. It just took time. I had to be patient with them. I had to be patient with myself. I think the one thing that helped in the beginning was that we were all playing in a world that we knew, because we were playing in Exandria from Critical Role. So it helped. Everyone had a basis of commonality. Even if we didn't know each other, it didn't really matter on some level. At least that's how I felt, because we were all fans and we all understood this is what the world looks like. So I got lucky also in that way. I didn't have to do a lot of the initial world building, which I'm doing now, which is horrifying. That is an entirely different level of complicated that I'm like, oh God. Oh God, Sig was asking me about religion and I was like, oh no! What do I do? But I don't know. I already made up a language. I've established planets. Like, we've done all of that. But some of this stuff I was like, hey, tell me what you need in order to understand
Yeah.
how this works. Because yes, Kat, she's screaming at me right now. I don't know if y'all heard that, but she's sitting in the windows are open. She's sitting in the window going, "Row, row, 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 row." Like, good God. But some of it, I genuinely don't know what's going to be useful. So I've asked them all, like, tell me what it is that will be helpful. Chris was saying something about, he's like, I want to be a biker bard. And I was like, okay, that means I have to have bikes. Got it. I had thought about that, like, Tron style, because of course I did, because it's a sci-fi setting. I was like, I could see light bikes. There's already a planet established that they don't allow air traffic. It's all controlled, think like self-driving on grids, what we would love to have. So you can only have either very, very small vehicles or bikes. And he was like, well, maybe I'm a biker bard. And I was like, this is going to be good. But if he hadn't said that, I wouldn't have gone there initially.
Yeah, it's very much that's why I like the 4 questions we've had so much, because it gives you an area to focus on, so you're not building all these planets universes and you're figuring out exactly how they name their children on the planet on this far reach of the Earth, and they don't visit there. It's like, yeah, it wasn't a waste of time. It would never be a waste of time because you did it. You enjoyed it. You never know when it will come useful, or, I mean, if you enjoy the process, it doesn't even matter if it ever comes up.
Yep.
But still, it's like, you know where to focus your energies.
Yeah, yes. I am finding that with, because I'm using World Anvil for the first time. And all of the things and all of the options that they give you are really amazing. And I saw a post on their blog, something about someone was creating a dynasty in their world. And I went, I don't have to do that. Because that's not how the political system works. Oh, but now I'm thinking about the political system. Oh, shit. And it just kind of tumbled like rocks down a cliff. And I wound up at...
beautiful moment.
Yeah. I wound up at this is what we have, and that people know if they get called to the main, like, central government planet, that's where you panic a little bit. So if you get that summons on your data pad or whatever, and you're like, oh, I got jury duty, it's kind of like that. Oh man, but this is more like, oh God, what did I do? Yeah, DMs over prepare and under prepare simultaneously. Agreed. Really said that. Yep.
Yeah. This is an interesting contrast I've noticed, as you say. We're coming at 2 separate sides here. Talk about building your own universe and using pre-established stuff. Mm-hmm. It's very much the same as writing original content to writing fanfic. I spent a lot of time, not as much as most other writers I know, but I did a lot of fanfic back in the day for the Dot Hack anime,
Okay.
and a couple of others. To be fair, I went and rewatched Dot Hack the other day, the manga and the anime. Loved it still as amazing as I remember it. But I noticed so many little things that I'd subconsciously picked up to my game world for Gateway that I'm just like, oh my god, I thought I was a genius for making that. It turns out I just accidentally remembered it. But did you? I know you said you wrote, but you've not ever self-published or published. Did you ever have any experience of that kind of thing, fanfic and things like that?
It's funny because I have worked around books and authors for 15 years in some capacity or another. It's much more direct now. Even then, it's still not direct, but we used to. I used to work at a public library, so we would book local authors to come in and do writing classes, which was always fun. Because inevitably we would have people come in with their manuscript, and it was always physical. It's my favorite thing, and also the thing I hated. And they would set it down and go, "I wrote a book. Can you read it for me?" I'm like, "Oh my god."
Yeah.
One, I have to be paid to do that. Two, I can't. Conflict of interest. And three, no! I would go through the first two responses in my head and then get to the third one and go, I can show you where the writing books are. Do you want Stephen King's On Writing? Because I could give you that. Do you want Annie Lamott's Bird by Bird? Because I can give you that too. Like, it's not. So I just started kind of passing the buck, to other people. But that was my exposure for a while. And then, spoiler, when I got into actual publishing, no, I still can't. No. Please don't ask me that. Not you. People in general. I get asked that a lot, and I'm like...
We already went through that conversation.
Oh, I know we did, yeah. It's like, It's one of those things, like, up front. I got accosted by somebody. And ever since that, it just... making it up front is so much easier. But it's, after I see how difficult it is to get published, quote unquote, traditionally published, we'll say, and just the things that authors have to do in order to promote, I was like, oof, I don't have the energy for that.
Yeah.
How difficult have you found that, actually, to promote and self-promote, that kind of thing?
Difficult enough that I stopped trying. It was very much a case of if you take my books as a purely monetary equation, I have lost so much money through paying cover artists, paying advertisers, website hosting. I have my own website, jlwilsonwriting.co.uk. Go there. But it's been a case of, it's been a labour of love purely because it has to be. Otherwise it would have made no fiscal sense to do this. But that is the worst thing about self-publishing compared to having an agent or doing it that way. I have to do every little thing myself. Now, a bit of a disclaimer here, saying that I didn't have to do everything myself, because I have an amazing friend called Sarah who edited my first 4 books for me, helps me run all my social media. Just, if I will mention I've got a problem, and then randomly 2 hours later, she will send me like 5 different solutions. Sarah, if you're out there, I friggin' love you. You're amazing. She is the sweetest thing, and I could never ask for anybody better than her in my corner. But even then, it's like I got my Facebook hacked this year, and my entire account and everything got deleted and completely wiped off the map. Which, 1, was bad enough. 2, I had all my professional Facebook business pages tied to that account that are now all floating in limbo. Not just my writing page, like I had a baking blog, I had a few other things. They're all now in limbo. I had Sarah as an admin on the writing one, but she can't take over because I didn't make her the right type of admin, because I never thought I would lose my Facebook account. And also, that was still at the stage where writers, as I'm sure you know, are paranoid people. We don't like sharing at
Right.
all. And even though I trust Sarah with my life, I didn't trust her with 100% access to the Facebook page at the time I set it up. Now things changed. I wish I had done then, and I would do now if I set it up again. But that's like, it had like something like 300 likes, I think, which is
Oh,
nothing grand scheme. But that is still 300 potential audience members
right.
that I lost at that point. Hence why I now mainly focus on Twitter, and I'm trying to focus on the website as well, because Twitter's easier, but on the website, it's mine. It's like it's purely my portal. It's lovely.
Yeah.
But it's the hardest bit. I must have sunk maybe 200, £300 maybe into Amazon and Facebook adverts over the course of the last couple of book releases. And if you believe the figures they give back about what the engagement was, I made back £5, £10.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the kind of loss I'm talking. And
Yeah.
obviously, you can tell from the quality of my cover art that is a money's no issue kind of object.
Right.
You know, I go to the best artist I can for that kind of thing. I don't have enough of a fan following to get fan art, so I have to commission pieces to satiate my need. So a lot of money goes into that, and it's definitely not cost effective.
Yeah. That is the, I feel like that's one of the dirty little secrets that people are being more open about now, but it's like unless you have even being quote again traditionally published, a lot of stuff gets lost because the marketing departments have to choose where to put their efforts, and it's a gamble every time. Not that I'm speaking from experience or anything, but it is a gamble every time. So even people who are like, yes, I got my, and it should be, it's a big deal. It's very cool to get picked up by a large house. Um, but then it is still a gamble, and very few authors really make any money.
And it's a kind of heartbreaking but freeing thing at the same time. Like, I would love to be a stay-at-home dad that writes books to make a bit of money on the side in my own little house, little flat in the city. That would be like life goals. I would love that. But you also have to kind of start at the same time. It's like suddenly my hobby would be my only source of income, and then it would be a source of stress.
Yep.
I've always said that if I won the lottery, I would buy a little cafe somewhere and make it a comic book shop, cafe, gaming space, with a little bookshop corner, and it'd be ideal. And everybody's always like, well, you could do that anyway, just go for it, take the leap. It's like, no, it has to be if I win the lottery. If I do it for profit, it will cause too much stress and I won't enjoy it.
Right.
If I do it just to make it tick over, it will at least alleviate a small amount of the stress, but I don't need to do this to make ends meet at the end of the day.
Right. Yeah, yeah, it's like you pulled that out of my brain. That's how I feel a lot of the time, because I think about all of the things that maybe I want to do or I want to take the chance on, and that's like, oh God. Do I want to do that? Really? Ugh. That's scary. It's scary and so uncertain. And then you're right, when you're tying your income to something that you love, it can get tainted really easily.
Yeah, I still remember when I realised I wasn't selling much, and I saw all the money going out of my bank account with nothing going in.
Yeah.
And there was a moment where it's like, well, at this point you decide what you want to do. Either you write so much slop and rubbish that something's got to get picked up and then you can focus on that, or you do it as a labour of love and, just enjoy what you're doing. If by some miracle you end up making it, brilliant. If not, hey, you've still got published books out there. There is still a little piece of my soul that is going to exist long after I've gone. And that is the most beautiful thing I could ever think of.
I love that. Oh my gosh. Have you ever, not ever, are you thinking that you'll stick with self-publishing for the foreseeable future?
I tried so hard to get published, whenever you kind of consider that thing. I go through KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing,
Mm-hmm.
so that's Amazon's system. Which one Amazon, but I'm saying no more on the matter. But the rest of it, it's like I say, with it all being on my shoulders, I have to file American taxes.
Mm-hmm.
I live in England, I have to file American taxes. That
Yep.
whole point, as a starting point, just made me think, no, I'm not dealing with this. But they are actually very helpful. I've had nothing but positive experiences with the program. I know a lot of people that may say otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the people I know in the communities and things like that have had hellish experiences with it. But I also know people that have gone not with Amazon that have also had hellish experiences. You know, it's not a universal thing. You take the rough with the smooth. And my personal experience has been, this has been really cool. I've never tried to make a living out of it, but it's been brilliant. I've not had any trouble doing what I want to do at any given point.
Nice.
So, why I still send out queries. I will still try and reach out there because, as you say, traditional publishing is still the dream method of doing it. But we'll see what happens, where it takes us.
Never know. I mean, I've seen stranger things happen, that's for sure. And I know a lot of authors have stories. I know a lot of people who even after they got a contract with a house or a book purchased by a publishing house, continued to self-publish.
Yeah.
Because that's another little dirty secret, which is that you might have one book picked up out of a slush pile or bought at auction, and then you've got 5 more in the hopper, and the house doesn't want them. They just want this one title or this one series. And a lot of folks that I know just went, okay, and did exactly the same thing. They went to Amazon or they went to Barnes & Noble and just put those out there as ebooks and let them sit out there for, $2.99 or whatever it is.
Yeah. I always also see the horror stories of, like, some of my favourite authors, like Sienna Maguire, people like that, where books that they have don't exist anymore.
Yep.
Because of publishing disputes amongst other things.
Oh my gosh.
And it's like, I managed to get the second Velveteen book of hers on an audio book from a library in America doing a sale. And I was so happy because this is the only way I'll ever get to experience this damn book, because it's vanished off the face of the earth. And I don't, especially with it being Kindle as well, at least with physical copies, they still actually exist somewhere. They may be in a collector's house somewhere, but they exist somewhere.
Right.
But with digital, somebody can snap their fingers and it's gone. Forever.
Ugh.
And it's a terrifying aspect.
That is horrifying to me. I love Shannon, like desperately love her books, and I've seen her talk about some of that stuff, and it's like, my God, you realize that as soon as you start putting your content out there, it's in someone else's hands.
Yeah, which is one thing. With us talking earlier about me being incredibly anally retentive when it comes to organisation, I'm the kind of person that reads an entire terms and condition before I sign it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know exactly where my rights lie in terms of my characters, my property, what I can and can't do, what Amazon and KDP own and what I own.
Yeah.
And it is such an important distinction, because it's like when it came down to when a friend of mine wanted to stock some of my books in her shop. It was like, well, that's lovely, that's brilliant, that's amazing, but where do the rights lie back? Because I've signed certain contracts that mean certain things,
right,
that mean Amazon have exclusivity rights, and it's like, where the hell do the line draw there? And it's important things to know, and it's something that anybody listening, if you're ever thinking about handing over rights to something you own to somebody else, know exactly where that lies, because it will cause you the biggest problems down the line.
Oh yeah, that's that. I think about that constantly. One of the things that I like about streaming and creating that content there is it lies with us mostly. Also, as a control freak, just putting our own channel together was easier. than, you know, hosting on someone else's or being reliant on someone else where I'm like, I got it. I'll just do it. This is fine. But
Yes.
we're still exclusive with Twitch for it's not nearly as bad. Twitch is an Amazon company, but our content has to live on Twitch exclusively for the first 24 hours.
Yes.
Which is fine because I'll just post it to YouTube later. That's no big deal. And then before the demise of Mixer, I was like, well, maybe we could stream because people multi-stream. Why don't we do that? And then I was like, oh, we can't. So I had to go back and read that contract again and just remind myself of, oh, that's right. When we stream, we have to stream only to Twitch because we're an affiliate. I think when you get to partner, you can do other things and they kind of loosen the chokehold a little bit more. But I was just like, no, I think we're good. We're good. We're just gonna stay put.
Yeah, makes sense. It's easier. Better the devil you know and all that.
Right, better I know, and instead of getting like a takedown notice or something. Ugh. I don't want to deal with any of that. That sounds like a headache. I am very curious, James, because we keep going back and forth between books and writing and gaming, and for us, it's all looped together. After you played in that Kids on Bikes game, which I was also in, which was a ton of fun, Corpse Bus! It was like straight out of the Goonies.
Beautiful. It was such a seminal American summer camp experience that as somebody who has never had a summer camp, it was such a beautiful thing to be part of.
You get that message afterwards where Brand's like, well, that's not where I was expecting that to go.
It is what you dream of receiving as a player. We've completely thrown the DM off, but how good did he do? You could never tell for a second we threw him off.
Not at all. The Corpse Buzz! Mandy's here, Corpse Buzz, bro tokens. I highly recommend if you wanna see something really goddamn funny, our Kids on Bikes charity game that we ran last month was pretty amazing. But after that, and you got hit by this inspiration, have you had other instances of playing in something in one of these tabletop games where you were like, well, maybe I could run it, or was this the moment that made you go, I'm going to run it?
I always say that you're the one that taught me how to play D&D because that is technically true. However, there was one experience like a year or two prior where me and my in IRL friends were very much a case of we're nerds, but we're not D&D nerds. We were that kind of level of elitist and ridiculous. But we all finally decided that enough was enough. Everybody looks like they're having an amazing time playing D&D. Let's do it. James, you're the writer. Run the game.
Oh, God.
And it was like, okay, fine. So we had a group of newbies. Well, none of us had played D&D before. I tried to run the game, and it fizzled. It didn't work. It broke my heart into pieces because it was something we were all really excited to do. Everyone else in the world's having fun with this. Why can't we have fun with this? And from that point on, I swore never to... At that point, I swore never to play another game of D&D again. I was like, I'm done with this. I can't deal with this. Then it was the Extra Life charity stream that you did that Sig convinced me to play with you guys. And I did. Best decision I made. But I was still convinced I will play all these games happily. Yeah. I will experience all these stories. But I'm still never telling one. I'm not good enough to tell one. All that typical anxiety bullshit you tell yourselves. Mm-hmm. You know how it goes there. And then it was a Monster of the Week game we did a year or so ago now, I think. That system twigged with me because I like Monster of the Week as a format. As a TV show format, as a story format, Monster of the Week is great. And that system encapsulates so much of that I thought, I could tell a story in this, but I couldn't run a story in that. It was still the disconnect between writing a story and running a story. Mm-hmm. But when we played Kids and Bikes, it's literally a storytelling with the occasional dice roll. It is such a numbers light system
Right.
And Bran ran it so expertly that I was just blown away by it. And I said to Bran that night, I said, I think I could run this system. And he immediately demanded a place on the table when I did. And I said, hold your horses. This is me in post-game delirium saying I want to run the system. We're not touching it.
Let me come down from my game hangover. Hold on.
Yeah, it's like I'm coming down from a high at this point. We'll hit hangover soon. I'm still never running a game. And then I think it was a week, 2 weeks later. It was like 2 weeks ago from now, so whenever that lines up. I woke, or a week, it's gone quick. Anyway,
Yeah.
I woke up in a cold sweat at 5:45 in the morning, went and had a shower, and went, fuck, I need to run a game. Because I will very much always describe the creative process as I'm plagued by writer's block constantly. No matter what it is, I get plagued by it regularly. But it gets to a point where it's almost physically painful. It's like I've got everything bubbling up in my head, but I can't release it. And I got to a point where I had this particular brain worm in my head, and I had to go. And Bran had been showing me so much support, hyping me up in messages to do it anyway after I initially talked to him about it. But I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'll do it. Let's go. But I need I'm not streaming it, and I need a supportive team.
Yeah.
So I went to the best players that I could think of for this, which is to say, if I didn't talk to you, it doesn't mean you're not a good player and I don't love you. This is the people that I am incredibly familiar and close to, either with the system or personally, that I felt to back me up when it went wrong. It was building my dream team, and every single one of them said yes, and I cannot even begin to fathom how much that meant to me.
Aww.
And we started building the system, and I still, every time I start doing world building stuff, I keep thinking, yeah, you're not doing this. It's not, you're not comfortable with this, and I'm not comfortable with it, but I'm still going to do it because it needs to be done, because I have the brain worm and I need to pull it out.
Yep. I understand that. And no matter how long, right, the story lasts, you still get to experience it.
Yeah, exactly. And especially with us talking about maybe recording it, we don't know yet. We'll see. I'm not streaming because I'm not confident enough to do what you do. I don't have.
That's a whole other bag of cats. That's a whole other.
But maybe we'll get a recording of it for future generations and see. Future generations meaning everybody that watches it like 2 weeks later.
Hey, 2 weeks is a long time right now.
But I get to tell a story with my friends, and the world is blooming so much that I'm happy with it. It's weird. It's world building and writing are two very different beasts, because if you're writing, you're clearly charting a very linear path through the universe. You don't. If you're telling the story of going from your house to the pub, you only know what's happening between those 2 points.
Right.
You don't know what's happening at the shop on the other side of the street, something like that. Whereas when you're world building, it's very much you have to have an awareness of how all the pieces fit together, how they'll all work out, and more importantly, how your pricks and players are going to break them, because you know they will.
Exactly. Yeah, world building is a living, breathing thing that you just kind of keep rolling. You keep rolling the ball along and start picking up other things. It's the whole rock moss thing. You just keep rolling the rock around and it keeps growing moss, and other things get stuck to it, and you're like, I don't like this, we're gonna throw this over here. But yeah, books are you're right. I do feel like they're a totally different beast. It's an interesting. It's so weird because I did the world building thing. I don't know that I could do what you do, just because I'm so used to that like strange organic process where like I have to be okay with unknown.
Yeah. I feel like you can write that way anyway. The first couple books I've ever written were very much sitting down with a glass of water and a blank Word document going, okay guys, let's make a movie, and just letting the story flow and seeing where it happened. But with Worldbuilding, as I say, I always said I could never do it with this kind of thing, but I find world building very much lends itself to the 2 o'clock in the morning epiphanies
Mm-hmm.
of, oh my god, he works at the barbers, quickly to the Google Doc, and doing it that way more than anything else.
I've done that. Mm-hmm. Or you're up, or you wake up and you go, "What was that thing that my brain was working on while I was sleeping?" And then you try to pull it out of the dredges of sleep in that fog. And you're like, oh god. It's kind of fun though when that
Yeah.
happens.
Fun tangent on that. I genuinely got to a point when writing my second book that I dreamt in the book universe.
Oh,
Like, I got to the point where I was having, because Gateway takes place half of it inside a game world, much like Sword Art Online or .hack, where it takes place inside the game world. And I genuinely started having dreams inside that world for a while and using that system. And I was like, what the hell? This is so weird, but it was very satisfying to be able to actually see it play out in reality.
yeah.
But it was just like, oh my god, this makes a universe a lot much easier to write in when I can literally picture it.
That is really cool. Holy crap. I think I feel like I would wake up and be like, nah, that didn't happen. You go back to sleep, happens again. Oh, good.
Yeah.
My brain is working on things. Oh my gosh.
That's kind of funny with the timeline thing, because I am a very strong lucid dreamer, but I have
Okay.
like this weird timeline of dreams where if I wake, I used to have a notebook that was filled with all the dreams I had, and you could genuinely make like an MCU style connected universe of where everything fit in.
Holy crap.
It was so friggin' weird, but I think that it's a catch-22 of where it started, but I think that's where all my universe organization comes in. Of just
Yeah.
I'm that used to having everything cohesive that it just comes naturally to me now to make sure it all ties in.
Oh my gosh, that's cool. Wow. I don't usually remember mine. Or if I do, it's you remember the really weird thing
Oh
that
yeah,
doesn't make any sense. Where you're like, the cat was a dog but was also a whale? What? I don't know.
yeah. I had a lucid dream once where the only bit I can remember from it is I was in a swimming pool, but it was only a swimming pool if you're underwater. If you're above it, it was empty, which was weird to begin with. But I specifically remember Mega Man coming to assassinate me because, and I quote this, he's got too much power, he knows he's in a dream, we have to wake him up now. And then I remember Mega Man killing me and I woke up.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like any of this.
So weird. So friggin' weird. My
So
subconscious thinks I'm too powerful, I need to be stopped. I can't deal with that. That's heavy.
We can only send out one, and he must be the Mega Man. I love that was it, and not like Neo or John Wick or something. Like, it's not Keanu Reeves coming to get you or Liam Neeson. It's like,
To be fair, I had been watching. It was around the time Awesome Games Done Quick was on, and they'd done like loads of Mega Man games on that one. So I think that was partially it. Just watching these absolute gaming ninjas just decimate everything. It's just
Oh
like,
my
yeah, that's who's going
God.
to come and kill me.
well, there you go. Now it makes so much sense. Mega Man killed me. It's fine. It's fine. Oh dear. That's a sentence you say after you've had a couple, and everyone's like, "Yeah, Mega Man, he's real. Yeah, he totally killed me. He couldn't kill me." I could see that entire drunk conversation happening.
Oh yeah, 100%. I take pride in how I tell drunken stories because that is it's the main thing I found. Again, another conversation I've had with Bran and with Mandy as well is everybody has the capacity to tell a story.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily writing it down and publishing it. It's not even necessarily world building or doing it in that aspect or being a player. As humans, we're such a race of storytellers. It's built into you, even if it's just you're actually really good at talking somebody down when we're in a bad mood or something like that, or
Right.
anything like that. Everybody has the capacity to tell a story, and I will never, ever accept somebody turning around and say, I'm just not that good at telling stories. You are, you just haven't found the right way of doing it yet. It's very similar to the art aspect of, oh, I can't draw. It's like, you can, you've just not found the right way of doing it yet. It's like, yes, that may be a stick figure you think sucks, but it's the way you do it. You've always got a way to tell your story. And you can't, if you struggle writing, do it verbally. If you struggle verbally, draw it. You know, there's a
Right.
reason comics are such a good way of doing it. It's a credible way of telling a story. But everybody has a story inside them, and it's the most beautiful thing when they let them actually come out and speak.
I yep. Yep. Again, it's like you pulled it out of my brain and just threw it out there. That's I've always believed that, and I do think that people say the same thing when they're like, "Oh, I'm not a reader." No, you just haven't found the right one yet.
Yeah, it's the stories are such a quintessential human experience that there'll be something that appeals to you. You just have to find the way
Right.
to either find the one you want to read or tell the one you want to hear.
Yeah.
It's very much a two-way street.
Yep. Yep. Or the one you want to experience. Because I always think about. I worked with a young woman. This was years ago, and she's long graduated college and everything, and she was dyslexic and always struggled with reading. Had found some coping mechanisms and some therapies that she'd worked with. But she would come to me and she would say, I'm looking for this story. It was never, I'm looking for this book. I'm looking for this story. Because if the story is good enough, it won't bother me that every other word is flipped around or that I need to take extra time. It I just this is what I'm looking for, and we went through several books and we did all of these things because she was just looking for that experience.
Yeah,
And I always kind of this might be my elitism showing. I like movies, I like TV, I enjoy video games, but in some way, shape, or form, I'm having those visuals fed to me.
yeah,
Literally, sometimes a movie feeds you visuals, a TV show feeds you visuals, and you're just passively there.
yeah,
With the book, I have to construct everything. And I think that's also why I like tabletop games so much, because the way that I see a character or the way that I see this atmosphere or this setting might be different than the person sitting next to me, whether it's physically or, like we're
yeah,
sitting right now. And I enjoy that because when you start talking to like your players or you start talking to your GM and they say, no, I pictured this town like this, and you're like, oh, I'd pictured it like this instead, or you
yeah.
spelled that a weird way. Or I always find that so fascinating, the way our brains interpret the things that we're reading or the games that we're playing when they don't involve anything more than imagination.
Yeah, it's very much a case of it's why you've got to nail down the important bits.
Yeah,
Like if you want to make sure they know that the shop is to the left-hand side of the entrance, make that clear, because
right.
otherwise they will not construct it. I have a pet project that I like to do with artists that I will literally send them all 5 of my books, pay them a commission fee for like 3, 4 pieces of art, and just ask them to draw their 4 favorite characters when they're done. Because that way I get to see the way they've built my characters in their brain, and there
What?
is nothing more satisfying to me than seeing the way somebody else pictures my characters. For my birthday last year, Kate, my tattooist, who I love dearly, is also an amazing digital artist, as well as a fantastic piano player, because she can't be not good at anything. She's an excellent writer as well, which really annoys me.
One of
Because come
those
on, that's
people.
my one of those people. And she did a digital drawing of one of my characters as a present for me for my birthday,
Wow.
and I wept on the spot
Oh,
because it was so much how I'd pictured them, and I was so glad it came across. Plus, it was an incredibly sweet gesture to begin with,
yeah.
and I just wept
Oh,
because it's such a beautiful thing. But as I say, I cannot draw. I cannot. I know I just said I hate that phrase, but I can't. I don't work well with physical or digital mediums
There you go.
in terms of direct optical interface. I don't work well with that. If you have to look at what I'm doing, you're not going to enjoy it. If you read or listen to what I'm doing, however, I can paint you something frigging beautiful. It's just, I will, to sound all arty and ridiculous, I'll use your mind as a canvas rather than a physical one. It's my way of telling a story. It's my way of presenting my art.
Yeah.
And I'm very lucky in the fact that I've found that. I know some people that struggle with writing, struggle with drawing, but they can sculpt like unbelievable. You give them a bit of clay and they can make something that I could barely even begin to describe. It's everybody's own medium is what you need to find. The medium you're happiest receiving or telling. As you say, I found people that don't like reading books, but they can stare at a picture and openly weep because this picture is telling them more than a book ever could.
Right.
And it's just about finding your right medium for your story or your art that's the important thing at the end of the day.
Yep. That's exactly, yeah. Yeah, because I somehow managed to marry a not a big reader. And that was always something that I tease him about it. We've been married long enough where I'm like, go read a book already! And he, we know exactly what that joke is. But he likes very specific things. He's a very technical thinker. So I just got him a book on the history of guitars. Because, like, that for him is something that he can process and enjoy. Yeah. Whereas if I looked at that, I would be like, no, this is not. But hand me a book with a magic system in it or a serial killer, and I'm there. I'm done. I'm not moving for like 4 hours.
Give me a detailed magic system any day of the week. Let me know how that shit works and how its limitations, or you bend it slightly to do that. I have made so many magic systems that I've not actually put into a world yet because I just love making things tick and work.
Yes.
But I had the same thing with, I love cooking and baking. I don't get time to do much of it, but it's a passion of mine. But I'm also a very sciencey person. Mm-hmm. So I found a recipe book called Cooking for Geeks, which only has like 10 or 12 recipes in it. But it talks a lot about the science behind it, like exactly why steak browns and the exact chemical reactions for baking, things like that. And it helped me so much knowing the exact science behind it. It made me a much better cook or a baker just because it's the way I process the information was really interesting and really fascinating to me.
Oh, that's cool. I'm going to have to look for that. That sounds like a lot of fun. The science of baking is always fascinating to me. Like if you watch like Alton Brown or any of those chefs that like to break down how things work, and I'm just kind of like, whoa.
It's beautiful. It's satisfying. It's like how it's made on Discovery Channel.
Yes.
Me and Dad spend hours watching that just because it's so satisfying watching the component parts just end up with a product. It's like, yes,
yep.
Do it again.
Totally, yeah. Do it again. Do it again.
It's like with building maps and things like that for the games and how you perceive it. For the stuff I'm going to be running, you're going to be lucky if you have a map. I've knocked some stuff up in MS Paint, and I might do like hand-drawn versions of them. So it's like another kid in the schoolyard's giving it you, like for an authentic thing. But I'm very much going to be playing in theatre of the mind because, as I say, I don't do stuff like that. I struggle. I even looked at like a lot of good resources for building things, as you say, and I can't make what's in my brain appear using anything like that. So it's like, screw it, just gonna have to do it with words instead.
Yep.
Stick to what I'm good at.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big appeals of some of those, not diceless, but dice light systems. A lot of the Powered by Apocalypse systems, the Kids on Bikes, Kids in Space, because it really is focused on the narrative and how everyone interacts with each other. And you have such a role play heavy crew that delights me. That because they're just gonna do this, and you're gonna get to sit back and watch at some point.
This is why I'm saying it's not good. I don't think it's going to be a one-session game. If you went from start to finish on the plot, if you hit every hook straight away, I could probably get it wrapped up in a 3-hour session. But I know the crew. As a tentative lineup, I have all tentative yeses. It's Sam, Mandy, Sigurd, Bran, and Cherub, which is dream team right there. As I say, so happy they've all given me tentative yeses and we can start. But it's very much a team of storytellers that I know will. I don't think none of us have all played in the game as this setup, but I've played with them all, and a lot of them have interacted with each other, and the chemistry is hopefully, fingers crossed, if I've done this right, it's going to be so strong that it's going to tell itself. It's going to be amazing.
I think that for me is one of the best experiences being a GM, is just kind of stepping back and letting them go, because the last thing I want to do is interrupt that.
Yeah, just go play in my world. It's
cool.
It's beautiful.
And watching these characters come to life in the very moment that everyone's experiencing it, because it is part acting, and at the same time it's so much improv that it's fascinating to watch that process happen in real time.
Private school, and yeah, I'm fairly enjoying it in TTRPGs, because it's like, that is another good thing I want to touch on as a player, at least, with like the Call of Cthulhu game we just did. The Amazing Craven turned out far more sarcastic and bitter and angry than I ever intended. He was just going to be like a fun throwaway character. He was performing for kids. It was going to be lovely. Then I started talking as him, and he was bitter and he was angry, and I'm just like, okay, this is where we're going with this. And the other classic example is Spark. In the two games I played as Spark, he started basically as because he's the first character I ever rolled up, so I min-maxed him. It was like, okay, I can use all this to avoid natural ones. I can do this. I can do this.
Right.
You are going to be my gameplay heavy. I'm going to get so many big numbers. You're going to be my number machine. And then I went and thunderclapped a party, and I'm like, no, this is my calling.
Still one of the best moments I've ever experienced.
It was just a moment of where it clicked in my brain. It was something like, this is not the best move to make as a player. This is totally what Spark would do, with a moment of clarity and the apology, and then the boom, and it's just a very satisfying feeling of when the last cog clicks into place, and it's like, I can think like the character now. This is what's going to make a good story, and bam.
And some of them are more natural. Everyone's got that character type or types that just make more sense. I occasionally find myself, just because like in our Starfinder game, Gidget tests me a little bit. She's a little more goody two-shoes. She's a little less chaotic than what I typically play as. But I like that because it's giving me that chance to be like, okay, maybe she's like extra calculating in this moment, or maybe this is hitting her in a different way than I wasn't expecting. Whereas if I run around and I'm eggs, all bets are off at that point. I have no fucking clue what she's gonna do, and everyone goes with it. And I keep apologizing.
We were saying when I played as Sid in one of your games, the Dragonborn fighter, that ended up threatening to eat a kid. And in my brain, it made perfect sense because he's a very straightforward guy. It's the most obvious solution is, I'm a big, scary, crocodile-looking motherfucker. I'm going to threaten to eat this kid, and he'll do what I say. And then everybody's like, what are you doing? It's a kid. And it's like, whereas Spark probably would have done a song and a dance and maybe exploded, for all I know. It's Spark, after all. And it's such an interesting aspect of trying to be out of your comfort zone. Because I'm a very high-energy person in real life, but when it comes to playing games, I'm not normally that, how, whatever. And then Spark just kind of manifested. It's like, oh god, I normally have to go straight to bed after playing Spark because it drains me so much. But it's always a wonderful experience. And now, obviously, I think it's been long enough after the game that we can finally say that now Spark obviously isn't as chaotic anymore. And if we ever do anything more with him, it's going to be a nice contrast to play the true Spark compared to the magic-fueled halfling nut job that we had before. Or as I explained to one of my friends IRL, it's if you gave a toddler dynamite. That was
Oh my god! Can we put Spark and eggs in a game together?
I believe. Oh no, it wasn't with Spock. It was when I did the cleric with spiritual
You did the
weapon,
cleric,
and the
yeah.
egg was the holy symbol. So we had
Yep.
eggs pop out of it
Yep.
in a box, didn't we?
Yep.
But yeah, I want Spark and eggs in a game together. It'd be amazing.
That would
We
be
would
dangerous.
both be dead at the end of
You
it.
would both be dead. Hey, I got this thing. You want to see it blow up? Yeah, it would not end well at all. That would be. Although
Sounds
she's not
so beautiful, though.
she's not self-destructive. She's old enough that she's like, I don't want to die.
Yeah.
I just want to make booms. We've got a couple minutes left. Is
Yeah,
there
booms.
anything you
It's
wanted
pretty
to hit on again, or anything we didn't cover you wanted to talk about?
Not particularly. I mean, I've kind of more than anything else, it would be a thank you to you, because as this is a thing I messaged you about this, and you brought the idea of us doing a chat for the world building stream, but the entirety of this, not just the fact that I'm sat on a world building stream on a Twitch channel with people watching, the whole fact of me as a player and a creator in this space and having the confidence to go forward and make my own world is in a huge part thanks to you and the support you've shown me and to be fair, everybody in At the Top of the Order. You know, you ran a great newbie group there, but still do, no past tense. It's just because I'm not playing with you because you sucked and did Strada without me because I couldn't make it.
I'm sorry.
but no, it's all of this is largely thanks to you, and I know I already covered it, but I just wanted to make sure you were aware of how much you're loved and appreciated by not only me, but by so many of us in the tabletop community, and how much of a positive impact you're making on here, on Twitch, on our community, and in the universe in general, how much of a fantastic person you are. So I wanted to end on that note more than anything else.
Thank you. It's it is a labor of love, but I do it because I love it so much. And I wouldn't get to meet everyone if I didn't do this stuff. So it's like it all feeds back in a positivity loop, and I feel like that's
It's
the
a
best
beautiful
part.
positivity engine. For sure.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's self-powering. Like you don't even really have to do anything other than show up and have a good time. And I feel like that's one of the best parts, if not the best part. I don't know. I don't put things in lists typically on enjoyment levels. It's just fun. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Y'all are a blast. It's like you let me come up with weird shit, and then we go through weird shit, and you let me be a possessed little girl. And I get to... I was trying to explain that to a friend, and he is pretty squeamish around a lot of spooky stuff, and I didn't, do like the whole ooky spooky face thing. But he got the impression really quickly, and he was like, "That's messed up." Yes, I know. I understand.
And it was beautiful.
I eviscerated a guy. I know. I threw a car. It's
oh, and I still see claws in my nightmares because of you.
Yeah, great, great. You can send me the therapy pill. Well, cool. So, James, why don't you tell everybody again where they can find you and your wonderful books?
So my website is jrwilsonwriting.co.uk. Off the top of my head, my UK Amazon page is tinyurl.cc/jrwriting Amazon, I think. But if you search Electus or Gateway and James R. Wilson, I will pop up. You'll see me doing a stupid face and a Pikachu hat going. And that's my author picture because I have no sense of professionalism.
And his Twitter handle is right below his portrait there on the overlay that you're looking at, so you can always find all of the stuff there as well. So this was our first World Builder Studio. Sorry, thanks for keeping with me through the technical difficulties. I don't know what happened. We got it fixed. We fixed it. It's fine. We'll do it better next time. I think at 2 p.m. Eastern, we're going to be doing an artist alley with Lucas, another one
Oh
of
yeah.
James's fellow at the top of the order folks. And Lucas has been with us for a long time as well, so tune in for that. Lucas does some really, really great digital art, so we'll be watching them do that. And yeah, this was fun. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yay! Thanks, everybody. And we'll have some more Worldbuilders Studio coming up this coming Friday. I'll be talking to Rio from Slam
Oh
Vanners and our
yes.
charity games. And Rio builds really cool mini TTRPG systems, one pagers. And I want to know how she does that. So we're going to be talking about that because I think that's really cool. So, anyways, thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Worldbuilders Studio. Bye, everybody.
Bye.